To kick off the summer season, May is actually National Family Month. The break could actually be a great opportunity to work on your family communication. Let's get some tips on how to do just that from Mike Gaziano. Mike, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Summertime, why do you think that is maybe a good time to focus on something like family communication?
Well, if you think about it, all of a sudden the kids are now going to be home. There's going to be a lot more time for them to be available, to be around you. And for some families, it's like, wow, this is more time than I thought I was going to be able to enjoy. So it's going to be important to have some communication, discuss some of the expectations of what the summer is going to look like.
Well, I've seen a lot of people on my Facebook page saying today was the last day of school for some kids. So this is the perfect time to kind of talk about that. So
Right.
What are some of those strategies that you think that we can start implementing?
Well, one of the things is about the ability to communicate and to listen. Sometimes as families, there's a tendency to want to lecture, where you look at the kid and you start talking to them and it becomes a lecture rather than communicating. And listening is an important part of it. I work at Sierra Tucson, and what we do there is help families learn how to listen. And one of the best tools to learn to listen is to be quiet and let the other person talk and be able to hear what they're saying. It's fascinating when you get kids talking to you, because if you start to really listen, you're going to find out a lot more about them than you realize.
And I bet a lot of parents are thinking right now, you know what, I probably do that and I don't even realize I'm doing it. You're right, I should pause, take a moment, give them a little room to maybe, do a little bit of talking themselves.
Absolutely.
If we do by chance run into maybe some conflict though, what can we do with that? Is there maybe healthy ways to address that?
Well, keep in mind that conflict is a wonderful way to build emotional intimacy in a relationship, even with your children. So you find middle ground and work with it that way. It's important to say to yourself, even though I disagree with them, I still want them to have a voice. My daughter often would advocate for what she wanted. Even though my wife and I would say no, we'd still be willing to listen to her to at least understand her point of view.
Interesting. And I know you kind of mentioned emotional intimacy, and nowadays I feel like a lot of what gets in the way of just connecting at all, I think, is maybe the phones or the tablets or
Yeah.
the TV, or is electronics and us being connected that way causing also a problem?
It is, because what we're ending up doing now is turning to emojis,
Yep.
to Facebook, and to all these other media ways to relate to each other, and we're not actually talking to each other. And it's sad, because you really want to be able to talk about your feelings rather than sending them emoji about your feelings. So we've sort of lost out in the ability to communicate real feelings and emotions with the way media has become.
So how do you try to get back to that with your family?
You need to put the stuff down. You need to put the phone
There we go,
down, the
easy.
iPad down, all those other things down, and sort of have a tech-free night. I mean, there was a time, and I'm guilty of it, where my daughter and I were actually texting each other at the dinner table. And in reality, a dinner table is a place where you're supposed to be able to talk to each other and gather as family.
And I remember that as I was growing up. Mom said dinner time is when we sit down, we talk about our days. There's, none of this outside influence. And we didn't have remotely the amount of distractions that we have nowadays. But if you don't kind of carve out that time, you kind of fall into that pit.
Yeah, and you also need to set time aside to do that. So, if you're an adult talking to another adult, you would say, is this a good time to talk? Being a parent, you're not necessarily going to do that with your children and say, is this a good time? Because, to be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, the child's going to say, no, I want to go play, or I don't want to talk right now. So carving out that time is going to be important, learning to communicate and setting that time aside to make it a priority to learn to be able to talk to each other. Since it is National Family Week, or month actually, from Mother's Day to Father's Day, here's a challenge I propose to your viewers. Find one thing new about your child and tell them something new about you during that month, so that you start to learn about each other a little bit more.
Wow, that was actually kind of super impactful to say that. I think that's really going to resonate with a lot of people. And you know what? Maybe we don't do that. Maybe that's something we need, again, to kind of take that pause and say we can do this. And we're talking a lot about the parents and the kids and how we interact. And I'm sure, depending upon who you are in the family, you kind of have maybe, say, different communication styles.
Sure.
And that can sometimes fall into that conflict area. How do you kind of work with these different styles?
Well, basically, when it comes to communication styles, there's people that want to be placaters. It's always like, what do you want to do? I don't care, I'll do whatever you want to do. And then there's the blamers. People are like, well, it's all your fault that this happened. And then there's the people that oftentimes are sort of super logical and rational, where they want everything to fit into a nice, calm box. So as families, you want to learn how to communicate in a way that's clear and concise. Say what you mean what you say. I tend to be sarcastic, so it doesn't work very well when you want to be really genuine with somebody.
Yeah.
So I have to watch out for that as well.
I think I love that you put that challenge out there. I love that, we're taking this month, like you said, from Mother's Day to Father's Day. I think that's quite eloquent that Family Month falls within those two particular days, and really focus on that. You're right. Kids are at home. We're going to have more time to work on this, and we're also going to be able to learn a lot about everybody in the family.
Right.
I think this is great.
Good.
I hope everybody at home really is, absorbing this, taking this in this month actually make some changes in their family. So Mike, thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. My
You are
pleasure.
absolutely wonderful to talk to. To learn more about any of the topics that we discussed today, you can give them a call at 844-207-6488 or visit SierraTucson.com.